Every day, millions of people wake up with dreams, goals, and intentions, but most will end the day right where they started. Why? Not because they lack talent or resources, but because of the lies they quietly repeat to themselves. I'm too tired. I don't have time. It's not the right moment. This audiobook is your wake-up call. It's not about motivation. It's about momentum. It's time to silence the excuses and ignite execution. You're not stuck. You're just one decision away from changing everything. And that journey begins right now. Chapter 1. The lie we tell ourselves. There's a moment, just a split second, when you know you should act. Go to the gym. Open the laptop. Make that call. But then, a soft voice whispers inside your head. Maybe tomorrow. That voice? It's a liar. And it's been stealing from you for years. The biggest barrier between where you are and where you want to be isn't a lack of opportunity, resources, or intelligence. It's the story you keep telling yourself about why you can't start yet. We convince ourselves that conditions must be perfect, that we need to feel ready, that something or someone needs to give us permission. But the truth is, those are just sophisticated excuses, polished and rehearsed until they sound like logic. Think about how often we say these things. I'm too busy. I'm too tired. I don't have the right tools. I'll start after the weekend, or when the weather changes, or when I feel better. It sounds reasonable. It feels honest. But it's all a disguise. A clever cover for fear, procrastination, or comfort. There's a powerful psychological term for this: cognitive dissonance. When our actions don't align with our goals, we feel discomfort. So, to protect ourselves from that mental discomfort, we rewrite reality. Instead of facing the hard truth that we didn't follow through, we invent reasons that make it feel justifiable. And over time, we believe them. The excuse becomes our truth. Let me share a story. A friend of mine, Samir, always wanted to become a freelance designer. He had the talent. He had the training. He had people asking for work. But for 3 years, he kept his job, stayed unfulfilled, and repeated the same line. Now's just not the right time. He convinced himself he needed more savings, more clients, a better laptop, a bigger portfolio. But none of that was the real reason. The truth? He was afraid of failing, afraid of succeeding, afraid of stepping outside the certainty of his routine. He told himself a lie so many times it felt like wisdom. We all have a Samir inside us. That version of ourselves that knows exactly what needs to be done. But instead, we wait, we delay, and we talk ourselves out of taking the first step. And every time we do, we strengthen the chain that holds us back. Here's what you need to remember. Action doesn't come after clarity. Clarity comes after action. You don't need to see the whole staircase. You just need to take the first step. Waiting for confidence is a trap. Confidence is built through reps, through movement, through momentum. If you're telling yourself you need to feel ready, you'll wait your entire life. Let's get practical. Here are some of the most common lies we tell ourselves, and the truth you need to replace them with. I don't have enough time. Truth. You have the same 24 hours as anyone who has already done what you want to do. It's not a time issue, it's a priority issue. Audit your day. Where's your time going? You'll find hours leaking into scrolling, overthinking, or waiting. I'm not good enough yet. Truth. No one starts great. You become good by being brave enough to start. Experience is earned through action, not imagination. I'll start when things calm down. Truth. Life never calms down permanently. There's always something. Learn to build during the storm, not after it. I'm just not motivated right now. Truth. Motivation is a luxury. Discipline is what gets results. Relying on motivation is like waiting for perfect weather to plant crops. The successful plant anyway, rain or shine. The first chapter of execution is honesty. Brutal, self-revealing honesty. That means no sugarcoating, no stories, no some days. You look yourself in the mirror and say, "I've been getting in my own way." That kind of radical responsibility is where power begins. Because as long as it's someone else's fault, or the timing's fault, you're powerless. But the moment it's yours, you can do something about it. Here's something to try. Whenever you catch yourself making an excuse, pause. Call it out. Say it out loud. "That's a lie I've told myself before." It sounds simple, but it breaks the pattern. Awareness disrupts autopilot, and awareness opens the door to choice. You see, most people aren't lazy. They're just stuck in patterns that protect their comfort zone. Excuses are just the brain's defense mechanism to keep us in the familiar. But nothing great ever comes from the familiar. Growth begins where excuses end. So as we move forward in this journey, promise yourself one thing. No more lying to yourself. No more waiting. No more someday. This is your life. And this is the chapter where you stop explaining and start executing. Chapter 2. Comfort is the real cage. We often imagine cages as cold, metal bars that trap us from the outside. But the most dangerous cages aren't physical. They're mental. They're soft, cushioned, comfortable. And that's what makes them deadly. Comfort doesn't feel like a trap. It feels like safety. It feels like home. And that's exactly why it keeps you stuck. Comfort convinces you that you're okay where you are, even if deep down you're restless. It whispers that what you have is enough, even when your potential screams for more. It teaches you to settle, not because you're incapable of more, but because more feels uncertain, and uncertainty feels risky. The result? You stay still. You shrink. You choose familiarity over growth. We live in a culture that glorifies ease, fast results, instant gratification, minimal effort. And so, when something requires discomfort, waking up early, pushing through fear, making sacrifices, we hesitate. But here's the truth. Everything you want exists on the other side of discomfort. Comfort is not peace. Comfort is slow decay. Let me tell you about Ria. She had a stable job, a decent salary, and a predictable routine. She wasn't miserable, but she wasn't fulfilled either. For years, she dreamed of starting her own business. She read books, listened to podcasts, even drafted plans. But she never pulled the trigger. Why? Because her life wasn't bad. It was okay. And that okay became the invisible wall she couldn't climb over. She told herself she should be grateful, that risking it all was irresponsible. But in reality, she was just afraid to be uncomfortable. One day, she had a conversation with her mentor who asked her a simple question. Would you rather be temporarily uncomfortable or permanently regretful? That question broke something open in her. She realized that comfort was costing her her dream. And that's what you have to ask yourself too. What is your comfort costing you? Comfort is seductive. It promises safety, but it steals progress. It keeps you in jobs you've outgrown, in habits that drain you, in circles that limit you. It tells you not to rock the boat, not to stand out, not to try too hard, because trying means failing, and failing is uncomfortable. But the people you admire, the ones who seem to be living fully, they chose discomfort, not because they love pain, but because they love growth more than they fear struggle. They understood that muscles only grow under tension, that confidence is earned through risk, that resilience is built through hardship. Here are some signs you're stuck in a comfort cage. You keep doing what's easy even when it doesn't excite you. You avoid things you know will challenge you. You settle for good enough instead of reaching for great. You fear change more than you fear regret. You repeat routines that keep you busy but not productive. Breaking out of this cage isn't about grand gestures. It's about small, repeated acts of courage. Waking up an hour earlier. Speaking up when you'd normally stay silent. Taking that first shaky step toward the thing that scares you. That's how you weaken the bars. It starts by redefining your relationship with discomfort. Instead of avoiding it, seek it. Train yourself to recognize that the tension you feel when doing something hard isn't a sign you're on the wrong path. It's proof you're moving forward. Growth and discomfort always travel together. Here's the practical truth. Comfort is addictive because it demands nothing, but it also gives nothing in return. Discomfort demands effort, but gives you power. It shapes your character, sharpens your focus, and builds your strength. If you're serious about executing on your dreams, you have to get used to being uncomfortable. That doesn't mean you suffer endlessly. It means you stretch consistently. You challenge the part of you that wants to play it safe. You do what you said you'd do even after the feeling is gone. And over time, the discomfort becomes familiar. Not easier, but more bearable. Because now you're not afraid of it. You've learned to lean into it, to use it, to respect it as a sign that you're becoming more than you were. Let me leave you with this. The life you dream of is already waiting, but it will never come to the version of you that stays in the cage. It only reveals itself to the one willing to step out, even with shaking hands, even with a racing heart. So break the pattern. Do the thing that feels hard. Challenge the lie that comfort is where happiness lives. Your next level requires a new normal, and that new normal starts where comfort ends. Chapter 3. Own your delay. Drop the excuses. There's a brutal kind of freedom in admitting this. The reason you're not where you want to be is because you've delayed the work. Not because life was unfair, not because people didn't support you, not because the odds were stacked against you, but because somewhere along the line you postponed, you paused, you pushed it back. You made room for excuses instead of execution. And now, the price is being paid in regret, frustration, and unmet potential. But here's the good news. When you finally take ownership of your delay, you take back your power. Blame is seductive. It gives you something to point at. Something to blame for the missed opportunities, the unfinished projects, the stagnant progress. We tell ourselves, if only I had more time. If only I'd started earlier. Or, if only they had supported me. But every second we spend blaming something or someone else is another second we spend avoiding responsibility. And nothing changes until responsibility begins. Owning your delay means confronting the reality that you chose comfort, distraction, fear, or doubt over action. And that's not easy to admit. It requires humility. It requires dropping the ego. But it also unlocks momentum. Because if you cause the delay, you can now create the breakthrough. Here's a story that might hit home. A man in his late 30s, let's call him Arjun, always talked about writing a book. He had ideas, passion, even a list of chapters. But year after year, life got too busy. He had work, family responsibilities, fatigue. And every December he promised, next year I'll start. He told himself the story that once things settled, he'd begin. But deep down, he wasn't too busy. He was scared. Scared it wouldn't be good enough. Scared he'd fail. And so he hid behind the illusion of delay. Until one day, a friend said something that cracked the illusion. You don't need more time. You need more truth. That line shook him, because it exposed the lie. It wasn't time he lacked. It was ownership. So he started. Imperfectly, slowly, but consistently. And that decision, to own the delay and drop the excuses, changed everything. That's the shift this chapter is asking you to make. From waiting to working, from hesitation to hustle, from I'll try to I'll do. If you want to break through, here's what you need to own. You've made choices that led you here. No more hiding behind circumstances. You chose what to do with your mornings, your evenings, your energy. And maybe you didn't always choose growth. That's okay. But now, own it. No more victim mindset. You've delayed progress with stories. How many times have you said, this isn't the right time? How many days did you wait for the perfect moment that never came? The delay wasn't due to the world. It was due to the story you kept repeating. You've made excuses sound noble. Sometimes we dress up excuses as priorities. I'm focusing on self-care, or I just need clarity. But in truth, those phrases can become masks. Not always, but often enough. If your dream matters, it will require sacrifice. And sacrifice is uncomfortable. Now, let's get practical. Here are 5 simple but powerful steps to drop the excuses and shift into execution. Step 1. Eliminate the phrase, "I don't have time." Replace it with, "It's not a priority." It stings, but it tells the truth. You always make time for what matters. If it's not on your calendar, it's not a commitment. Step 2. Set micro deadlines. Don't plan the whole project. Plan the next 30 minutes. Big goals overwhelm. Small steps create traction. Progress isn't built on ambition, it's built on consistency. Step 3. Track your delay triggers. Notice when you procrastinate. Is it after failure? When you're tired? When the task feels too big? Awareness breaks the loop. Once you know your pattern, you can interrupt it. Step 4. Surround yourself with execution energy. Excuses thrive in echo chambers. If everyone around you is waiting, delaying, or complaining, you'll do the same. Spend time with people who move, who build, who act. Energy is contagious. Step 5. Make it public. Tell someone your commitment. Not to impress them, but to create accountability. When it's only in your head, it's easy to quit. When someone's watching, you show up differently. Let's be real. Dropping excuses won't feel good at first. It'll feel harsh. You'll feel exposed. But that discomfort is the fire that forges change. You don't need more motivation. You need a decision. A decision to stop explaining your delay and start making up for it. And yes, you'll feel behind. Yes, you'll wish you started earlier. But that's okay. You're not behind. You're just late to your own greatness. And that greatness is still available. The clock didn't expire. You can still get there. But not if you keep waiting for the perfect day. This is the moment to get brutally honest. To admit where you've delayed. To forgive yourself, but not excuse yourself. To draw a line in the sand and say, no more waiting. No more lies. No more escape routes. Own your delay. Because that's the only way you'll ever own your destiny. Rewire your daily dialogue. Every morning, before the world has a chance to speak to you, you've already had a conversation with yourself. And that conversation sets the tone for everything that follows. It shapes your mood, your mindset, your decisions, and ultimately, your destiny. The most powerful voice in your life is not your mentor, your boss, or your peers. It's your own. And if you don't take control of that voice, it will run on autopilot, replaying the same doubts, excuses, and fears that have kept you stuck. The problem isn't just negative thinking. It's repetitive, unchallenged thinking. Every day, most people wake up and unconsciously repeat the same internal script. I'm tired. I'm not ready. I don't feel like it. Maybe later. And when you repeat those lines enough, they become truth. You start to operate from that place. You show up with hesitation. You move with doubt. You settle for less. But here's the reality. Your life is always moving in the direction of your most dominant thoughts. If your internal dialogue is disempowering, your decisions will reflect that. If your self-talk is built on fear, your habits will follow fear. So to change your life, you must start by changing your language. This chapter isn't about affirmations or empty positivity. It's about taking control of the narrative in your mind and intentionally rewriting it so that it supports your vision, not sabotages it. Consider this. If someone else spoke to you the way you often speak to yourself, if they said you're not good enough, that you're always behind, that you'll probably fail, you'd walk away. You wouldn't tolerate it. But because it's coming from your own mind, you accept it as fact. That has to change. And the way you change it is by catching the pattern, disrupting the script, and installing a new language, one that moves you toward execution, not delay. Let's look at 3 common internal dialogues and how to rewire them. I'm not ready yet. Rewire to readiness comes through action. I'll learn by doing. No one ever feels completely ready. Readiness is not a requirement, it's a result. You prepare yourself in the process, not before it. What if I fail? Rewire to, if I fail, I'll adjust and improve. But if I never try, I've already failed. Fear of failure is normal, but staying frozen because of it is a choice. Every successful person has failed their way forward. I don't have the energy today. Rewire to, energy comes from movement, not from waiting. Often, energy is a byproduct of momentum. The more you act, the more alive you feel. Lethargy feeds on stillness. Power comes from progress. The goal is not to lie to yourself, but to lead yourself. Strong self-talk isn't fake optimism. It's focused leadership. You are leading your mind out of patterns that no longer serve you and into ones that push you toward your goals. Here's a practical habit to build this shift. Start your mornings with intentional language. Before checking your phone, before scrolling through noise, speak truth to yourself. Even if it feels awkward, even if your brain resists, say things like, I choose progress over perfection today. I'm built for growth. I can handle what's ahead. Discomfort is part of success. I'm not avoiding it. I'm embracing it. I don't wait for motivation. I act from discipline. It's not about hype. It's about direction. These statements recalibrate your mind before the day gets to decide for you. And throughout the day, catch the small slips. The I can't that creeps in when things get hard. The I'll do it later that surfaces when discomfort shows up. Don't just let them slide. Challenge them. Replace them. Speak the opposite. Speak power. Your thoughts become your beliefs. Your beliefs shape your behavior. Your behavior creates your results. So if you want different results, start upstream, at the level of thought and language. This isn't a one-time event. It's daily work. Because your mind will always default back to the familiar. But with repetition, the new dialogue becomes your new default. Here's the truth. High performers don't think more positively. They think more constructively. They've trained their minds to look for solutions, to expect effort, to focus forward. And that mindset becomes their competitive edge. You don't rise to the level of your dreams. You fall to the level of your self-talk. If you want to stop making excuses and start executing, you must become a master of your internal conversation. Talk to yourself like someone you're responsible for guiding, like someone whose potential is on the line. Because it is. Words matter, even the ones no one hears, especially the ones you say to yourself. So starting today, pay attention. Speak intentionally. And when that old voice of doubt or delay shows up, don't engage it. Replace it. You're not the same person who used to hide behind excuses. You're someone who's moving forward, and your language needs to match that direction. Chapter 5. Build habits, not hype. Momentum isn't built on excitement. It's built on structure. Passion may get you started, but habits are what keep you moving when the fire fades. The world is full of people who get inspired for a few hours, a few days, maybe a few weeks, but then fall right back into their old patterns. Why? Because they relied on hype instead of building habits. They were chasing the feeling, not the foundation. If your goals depend on how motivated you feel, you've already lost the game. Feelings are inconsistent. Habits are not. Execution doesn't require you to feel good. It requires you to act regardless of how you feel. And the most successful people you admire? They're not riding waves of inspiration. They've simply built systems that remove the need for constant motivation. It's easy to make big promises to yourself when the energy is high. After watching a motivational video, after reading a book, after a deep conversation, you feel unstoppable. You say things like, "From tomorrow, I'll wake up at 5 a.m. every day," or I'm going to work out 6 days a week, or I'm finally going to write that book. But then reality sets in. The alarm goes off and you snooze it. The gym feels too far. The blank page stares back at you. And that's when most people quit, because the hype has faded, and there's no habit in place to catch the fall. The key is to stop trying to become extraordinary overnight. Stop trying to do everything at once. Focus on small, repeatable actions that align with your goals. Build a routine so simple it's almost impossible to fail. Then stack wins. Let progress be your fuel. Here's a simple truth. Discipline beats dopamine, every time. Dopamine is that quick hit you get from talking about your goals, visualizing success, or getting likes on your plan. But discipline? That's what shows up when no one's watching. That's what builds real transformation. If you're serious about shifting from excuses to execution, you need to build a lifestyle that makes success automatic. That means engineering your environment, schedule, and mindset so that action becomes your default. Let's break it down. Reduce friction. Make it easier to do the right thing and harder to do the wrong thing. If your goal is to write every morning, leave your notebook and pen where you'll see them. Turn off distractions. If your goal is to work out, lay out your clothes the night before. Remove the decisions that slow you down. Start embarrassingly small. You don't need to write a chapter. Write one paragraph. You don't need to run 5 kilometers. Just put on your shoes and step outside. The goal is to make the habit so small, so simple, that you can't use overwhelm as an excuse. Consistency always beats intensity. Anchor new habits to existing ones. Use a habit you already do, like brushing your teeth, making coffee, or checking your calendar, as a trigger. For example, after I pour my morning coffee, I write for 5 minutes. This creates mental cues that build rhythm. Track it daily. What gets measured gets managed. Use a notebook, a wall calendar, or a simple app. Check it off. Make the streak visible. Seeing your progress builds identity. I am the kind of person who shows up every day. That belief shift is powerful. Don't break the chain. Life will happen. Some days will be harder than others, but make it your mission to never miss twice. If you fall off one day, that's okay. Reset the next. Momentum is fragile in the beginning. Protect it. Building habits isn't glamorous. It's not loud. No one claps for you at 5 a.m. No one celebrates the hours you spend focused, alone, doing the work. But those moments? That's where transformation is born. That's where character is built. That's where greatness is forged. Not in the light, but in the quiet. People love to talk about hustle, grind, mindset, but none of it matters if you don't execute consistently. And consistency is only possible when your life is built to support it. Not when you rely on bursts of energy, not when you're waiting to feel like it, but when your habits take over. Look at any area of your life right now, your health, your work, your relationships, and you'll find a pattern. That pattern is either pushing you forward or holding you back. Habits, whether intentional or not, are always working. The question is, are they working for you or against you? You don't rise to the level of your motivation. You fall to the level of your systems. So build better systems. Create routines that align with your goals. Don't just focus on what you want. Design a life that pulls you in that direction every day. If success feels hard, it's often because your daily actions are out of sync with your desired outcome. And here's the most important part. Don't wait for the perfect habit plan. Just start. Start messy. Start imperfectly. But start. Because once momentum kicks in, it gets easier. The first few weeks are the hardest, not because the work is too big, but because your old habits are fighting back. They want to keep you where you've always been. You must outlast that resistance. Chapter 6. Discipline over drama. When most people think about success, they imagine intensity. Long nights, emotional breakthroughs, passionate speeches, cinematic moments. But in real life, success doesn't come from drama. It comes from discipline. It's not built in loud declarations, it's built in silent repetitions. Drama is loud. It craves attention. It feeds on feelings. It says things like, I'm finally going to change everything. From tomorrow, everything will be different. This time, I'm serious. But discipline? Discipline is quiet. It doesn't speak. It shows up. It doesn't wait to feel right. It acts. It doesn't rely on energy. It relies on commitment. Discipline is what separates people who finish from people who fantasize. Most people are addicted to the highs and lows of progress. When things feel exciting, they go all in. But the moment life gets inconvenient, they break the routine, make excuses, and wait for the next wave of emotion to carry them forward. That cycle of inconsistency is the real reason they stay stuck. The truth is, discipline isn't about perfection. It's about repetition. It's about doing what needs to be done, even when you don't feel like it. Especially when you don't feel like it. Because that's the moment where real transformation begins. Let's make it plain. If you can only show up when it's easy, you'll never get far. But if you can train yourself to act when it's hard, you'll build a version of yourself that few people ever reach. Here's the difference in mindset. Drama says, I need to feel inspired to act. Discipline says, I act, and inspiration follows. Drama says, it's not the right time. I'll do it when I'm ready. Discipline says, there is no perfect time. I make time. Drama says, I'll do it when I'm motivated. Discipline says, motivation comes and goes. My commitment doesn't. The people who win in the long run aren't the ones who are always the most fired up. They're the ones who are the most consistent. While others are talking, planning, overthinking, they're doing. While others are caught up in their emotions, they're executing through them. Think about the gym. Most people go when they feel energized or guilty. But the ones who change their bodies, they go whether it's raining, whether they're tired, whether they had a long day or not. Because it's not about hype, it's about habit. They've made it a non-negotiable. You must start treating your goals like non-negotiables. Not optional, not when I feel like it, but daily disciplines that move you forward, regardless of what's happening around you. Here's the uncomfortable truth. Your emotions are valid, but they're not always useful. They're real, but they're not always right. If you let your feelings dictate your actions, you'll always live reactively. You'll always be at the mercy of your mood. But when you let your discipline lead, you build a life based on decisions, not emotions. To develop that level of control, here are a few simple strategies. Pre-decide your standards. Don't wait until the moment to decide. Choose in advance. For example, no matter how I feel, I'll wake up at 6 a.m. Or, I write every evening for 30 minutes. Decision fatigue is real. Eliminate it by setting your standards early. Practice delayed gratification. Discipline is the ability to choose long-term gain over short-term pleasure. Train this muscle by resisting small impulses, checking your phone, skipping a task, eating that extra snack. Every time you win a small battle, you build strength for bigger ones. Create friction around your distractions. If you're easily pulled into scrolling or avoiding work, make it harder to do so. Turn off notifications, move your phone, use focus tools. Remove the easy exits so that discipline becomes the obvious path. Build a no-matter-what habit. Choose one small action you do daily, no matter what. Rain or shine, tired or energized. It could be writing for 10 minutes, walking for 20, reading a page. Keep it small and consistent. This becomes your anchor for self-mastery. Train emotional resilience. Discipline isn't just physical, it's emotional. You need to build tolerance for discomfort. That means learning to work while anxious, to focus while frustrated, to persist while uninspired. The more you do this, the less power your emotions have over your performance. You'll reach a point where the habit becomes stronger than the mood, where the routine overrules the resistance. And that's when everything changes, because now you're no longer relying on force. You're operating from flow. There's no shortcut to this. You don't hack discipline, you build it, one day at a time, one choice at a time. And over time, those choices become identity. You become the kind of person who follows through, who executes, who leads themselves, no matter the weather inside or outside. Let others chase drama, you choose discipline. Because drama is temporary, but discipline builds a legacy. And in the end, it's not about what you did once. It's about what you kept doing when it would have been easier to stop. Chapter 7. Turn pressure into power. Pressure is inevitable. It's not a sign that something's wrong. It's proof that something's important. When you care deeply about your goals, your standards, your potential, pressure will always be there. The key is not to avoid it, but to convert it. To stop seeing pressure as a weight that breaks you and start using it as a force that builds you. Most people crumble under pressure because they haven't trained themselves to work with it. They feel the anxiety, the expectation, the discomfort, and immediately back away. They misread it as a signal to slow down, step back, or stop altogether. But pressure doesn't mean stop. It means focus. Ask any high performer, athletes, artists, entrepreneurs, soldiers, and they'll tell you the same thing. Pressure is part of the process. They don't run from it. They prepare for it. They perform through it. You don't need a life without pressure. You need a better way to respond to it. We often assume that pressure is bad because we associate it with stress. But stress isn't the enemy. In fact, short-term pressure can be a powerful tool. It sharpens your attention. It forces clarity. It demands effort. But it only becomes harmful when you let it paralyze you instead of mobilize you. Here's the mindset shift. Pressure is not a threat. It's a test. And tests reveal strength. They expose weakness. They show you where to grow. Let me give you a simple example. Think of a deadline. When you're 2 weeks away from a project being due, you might procrastinate. But the night before, you move with focus. You eliminate distractions. You act with urgency. That's pressure, transforming you into the version of yourself that executes. Now imagine if you could harness that energy without needing the last-minute panic. Imagine using pressure as fuel every single day. Here's how to do that. Reframe the meaning of pressure. Stop labeling it as stress or overwhelm. Instead, say to yourself, this means I'm alive. This means I'm growing. This means I'm doing something that matters. Language changes perception, and perception shapes your response. Break it into pieces. Pressure feels heavy when you try to carry it all at once. So don't. Focus only on the next move. Not the entire journey, just the next step. Action breaks tension. Movement creates clarity. Always ask, what's one thing I can do right now? Build pressure tolerance. Just like your body builds strength under physical load, your mind builds resilience under psychological load. Every time you face pressure and choose to push through, you grow stronger. Pressure tolerance is a skill, and skills improve with reps. Use pressure to drive preparation. Pressure exposes what you're not ready for. Good. Let it guide your training. If you feel pressure in public speaking, practice. If you feel it in difficult conversations, lean in. Don't run, rehearse. Prepare more than others. When you're ready, pressure feels like opportunity, not fear. Set standards, not expectations. Expectations are what others want from you. Standards are what you require from yourself. The former creates anxiety. The latter creates identity. Focus less on trying to impress and more on trying to improve. The more you elevate your standards, the less outside pressure affects you. You can either let pressure crush your focus or sharpen it. You can either see it as the enemy or as energy. It's the same force. The difference is how you carry it. Think of a diamond. It's just carbon, ordinary, common carbon, put under pressure for long enough that it transforms into something extraordinary. That's not a metaphor. That's nature. That's proof. The pressure didn't destroy the carbon. It defined it. And you are no different. The problem isn't the pressure itself. It's how you interpret it. When you see it as unfair, you resist it. When you see it as earned, you rise to meet it. Most people want to grow without pressure. They want strength without struggle, but pressure is the forge. It doesn't feel good, but it creates good. It stretches your capacity. It exposes your excuses. It teaches you what discipline alone cannot. Here's the truth. If you want to be elite, if you want to build something real, if you want to transform your life, pressure is part of the price. You don't get to avoid it, but you do get to decide what to do with it. So use it. Use the fear to sharpen your focus. Use the weight to build your resolve. Use the deadline to eliminate distractions. Use the discomfort to accelerate your evolution. When you feel pressure, it means you're in the arena. You're not on the sidelines anymore. You're fighting for something that matters. Let others fold. Let others complain. Let others blame the pressure. You convert it. You turn pressure into power. You let it build you, shape you, define you. Because you weren't built to avoid the hard things. You were built to rise through them. This is your edge. This is your advantage. When pressure hits, you don't break. You become stronger. And when others quit, you keep moving. Look around you. The people closest to you, the ones you talk to, listen to, share your time with, are either reinforcing your growth or reinforcing your limits. They are either raising your standards or lowering them, pushing you forward or pulling you back. That's not judgment. That's reality. Your environment matters, and nothing shapes your environment more directly than your circle. Who you spend time with influences what you think is normal, what you believe is possible, and how high you aim. If your circle makes excuses, you'll eventually make them too. If your circle plays small, you'll unconsciously shrink to fit in. But if your circle is made up of people who take action, who demand more of themselves, who don't just talk but execute, you will rise. You might think, I'm my own person. I can resist negative influence. But that's rarely true for long. Influence is subtle. It happens through language, energy, attitude, and repetition. It happens in what's celebrated and what's mocked, what's normalized and what's dismissed. That's how your circle becomes your ceiling. You rise, or stall, based on the level of those around you. Let's be honest. Some of the people in your current circle love the old version of you, the one who stayed safe, avoided discomfort, and didn't challenge the status quo. The moment you start to grow, you threaten their comfort. And when that happens, they may criticize you, joke about your ambition, or tell you to slow down. It's not always malicious. Sometimes it's subconscious, but the result is the same. You feel pressure to dim your light just to stay close. You can't grow into your next chapter while staying loyal to relationships that belong in your last one. That doesn't mean cutting everyone off. It means getting honest about this question. Is my circle stretching me or suffocating me? Here are the signs your circle is limiting your potential. You feel drained after spending time with them. They downplay your goals, calling them unrealistic or too much. They reinforce comfort, not challenge. They gossip more than they grow. They're threatened by your ambition rather than inspired by it. Now compare that to a circle that elevates you. They hold you accountable even when it's uncomfortable. They celebrate your wins without jealousy. They challenge your excuses, not accept them. They live with discipline and intention. They push you to dream bigger and act faster. Building a powerful circle doesn't mean you only seek people who are above you. It means surrounding yourself with those who are serious about their own growth, people who don't tolerate mediocrity in themselves or in others. If you can't find that circle around you, be the start of it. You don't have to wait. Raise your own standards first. Show up consistently. Speak with clarity. Execute with discipline. And soon enough, you'll attract others on the same path. This is about alignment. You need alignment in energy, in values, in focus. Execution requires clarity, and clarity thrives in a clean environment. You can't be locked in when you're surrounded by chaos. You can't stay sharp when your circle dulls your edge. Sometimes, the greatest act of self-respect is choosing silence over shallow company, solitude over fake support. You don't need a crowd, you need a core. Just a few people who get it, who live it, who demand better of you, because they demand better of themselves. Here's a practice to try. Audit your circle. Not out of judgment, but out of clarity. Look at the 5 people you spend the most time with. Ask, do they push me to grow? Do they hold me accountable? Do they inspire execution or enable excuses? If the answer is no, adjust your exposure. It's okay to outgrow people. It's okay to protect your space. This isn't arrogance, it's alignment. Because you can't build something extraordinary in a room filled with ordinary conversations. As you step deeper into your journey, from excuses to execution, your circle must reflect your commitment. They don't have to be perfect. They just have to be progressing. Let others settle. Let others repeat their stories. Let others resist growth. You upgrade your circle because you understand. Who you walk with determines how far you go. So make it your mission to find or build a circle where growth is the baseline, not the exception. Where execution is normal, not rare. Where no one needs convincing to be consistent because it's already in the culture. Your circle is your standard. Choose it with intention. Because in the end, your environment will either feed your vision or starve it. Chapter 9. Execution is the only evidence. At some point, you must confront the truth. What you say doesn't count. What you do does. Talk has no weight. Intentions don't move the needle. Only execution proves your seriousness. Everything else is noise. We live in a time where ideas are worshipped and action is postponed. People post goals, repeat affirmations, build vision boards, and then delay the work. They believe being inspired is progress. They confuse planning with performance. But here's the raw truth. If there's no execution, there's no result. If there's no result, there's no transformation. If you're not doing the work, you're just telling stories. Execution is not a personality trait. It's a daily decision. It's not about how much you know or how motivated you feel. It's about what you do when it's hard, boring, or inconvenient. Consistent action is the only measure that matters, not what you say in a burst of motivation, but what you deliver day after day, especially when no one's watching. There's a quote you've probably heard, "You are what you repeatedly do." But here's the extension of that. You are not what you intend, or wish, or plan, only what you execute. Your habits define your results. Your results reveal your discipline. Your discipline becomes your identity. Ask yourself, what have I actually finished this month? Not what you started, not what you meant to get to. What did you complete? What did you ship? What did you deliver? Your life doesn't change because of what you believe in. It changes because of what you build. And nothing gets built without execution. You'll hear people say, I have so many ideas. But ideas are cheap. Execution is expensive. It demands time, effort, courage, and consistency. Most people avoid execution because it forces confrontation, with resistance, with fear, with the possibility of failure. Talking is safe. Doing is dangerous. That's why most never cross that line. But if you want to become the kind of person who transforms their life, You must fall in love with execution. Not just the start, but the follow-through. Not just the vision, but the repetition. Here's how you make that shift. Stop announcing. Start acting. You don't need to broadcast your goals. You don't need applause. You need focus. Work in silence. Let results be your volume. When you stop explaining and start delivering, everything changes. Shrink the task. Start the motion. Overthinking kills execution. When a task feels big, shrink it. Make it frictionless to begin. Don't aim to run the marathon. Aim to put on your shoes. Momentum is always more important than intensity. Build systems, not streaks. Execution isn't about heroic days. It's about structure. What gets scheduled gets done. Build routines that support your goals. Track your progress. Make discipline automatic, not optional. Attach action to identity. Don't just say, I want to write. Say, I'm a writer, and I write daily. When you tie behavior to who you are, consistency follows. Let execution become part of your self-image. Finish more than you start. Most people live in a cycle of unfinished things, half-read books, half-built habits, half-chased dreams. Reverse that. Become a finisher. Don't collect projects. Complete them. You are not behind because you lack knowledge. You're behind because you're not executing what you already know. Most people don't need more information. They need more implementation. The problem is rarely awareness. It's action. Even imperfect action moves you forward. Perfection is often procrastination in disguise. If you wait to get it perfect, you'll never begin. Better to be flawed but moving than flawless and stuck. Think about the people you admire in business, sports, art, life. What separates them isn't talent. It's execution. They show up. They deliver. They don't wait for perfect conditions. They create results with what they have. Execution is the great separator. It's the line between the talkers and the builders, the dreamers and the doers, the almost and the achieved. It's not mysterious. It's not glamorous. It's gritty, repetitive, and often uncomfortable. But it works. Every breakthrough you want lives on the other side of consistent execution. Every new level requires you to show up even when you don't feel like it. Especially when you don't feel like it. The people who change their lives don't always feel inspired. They just act anyway. That's what makes the difference. That's what builds momentum. And momentum, not motivation, is what carries you to the finish. So stop searching for hacks. Stop waiting to feel ready. Stop gathering more information. Start building. Start finishing. Start moving. Because at the end of the day, only one thing will matter. Did you do the work? Your goals are real, but they need more than belief. They need proof. Execution is that proof. No more delays. No more excuses. You know what to do. Chapter 10. Your new normal begins now. You've come this far. You've faced the hard truths. You've stripped away the excuses, confronted your comfort, rewired your thoughts, built habits, and chosen discipline. You've learned to turn pressure into power and recognize the importance of your environment. And finally, you've accepted that execution is the only thing that counts. So now what? Now comes the most important decision of all. To make this transformation permanent. Because real change isn't a burst. It's a baseline. It's not something you visit. It's where you live. Your new normal begins the moment you stop negotiating with your old self. This is where most people slip. They get a glimpse of momentum, a few days of discipline, a week of consistency, and then they let it fade. They think progress means they've arrived. But the truth is, progress is only the beginning. Your real job now is to make that progress your new standard. This means no more dipping in and out of focus. No more switching gears every time it gets uncomfortable. No more chasing short-term hype or starting over every Monday. You've already done that version. You know where it leads. It's time to stop visiting execution and start living there. Your new normal is not about perfection. It's about ownership. It's about choosing alignment every single day, not because it's easy, but because it's necessary. You don't rise to the level of your dreams. You rise and stay at the level of your standards. So if you want to live a new kind of life, you must first demand a new kind of behavior, the type that doesn't wait, doesn't depend on mood, doesn't slow down just because no one's watching. You do it because it's who you are now. This is your identity shift. You're no longer the person who tries. You're the one who executes, who shows up, who finishes, who builds. Not when it's perfect, but especially when it's not. Let go of the need to be motivated every day. That was the old you. The new you understands that commitment outlasts emotion, that focus is a decision, not a feeling, that hard days don't stop you, they shape you. From now on, discomfort isn't a signal to stop, it's a signal to go deeper. From now on, fear isn't a barrier, it's a compass. If something scares you but aligns with your vision, you walk toward it, not away from it. From now on, excuses have no voice, because you've seen what's possible when you ignore them. And from now on, goals aren't things you wish for. They're outcomes you produce, through structure, sweat, and discipline. The transformation you seek is not in the future. It begins now, in this moment, with the choice to show up, again and again, until this way of living isn't an effort, it's your new default. That's what separates those who change for a week from those who change for a lifetime. So here's what your new normal looks like. You wake up with intention, not by accident. You move your body, even when it's inconvenient. You work when it's time to work, not when you feel inspired. You prioritize clarity over chaos, action over excuses. You protect your energy, your habits, your circle. You let your results speak, not your intentions. You don't need more motivation. You need more momentum. And momentum is built by stacking disciplined days, one after the other, until the old you no longer fits. You don't just want a breakthrough. You want a rebuild. You want a life that reflects the strength, focus, and vision you've been cultivating. And that starts by declaring, this is who I am now. This is what I do now. This is how I live now. Not sometimes. Not when it's easy. Every day. This is your new normal. And the only way to honor everything you've learned is to live it. Consistently, relentlessly, without apology. So don't look back. Don't slow down. Don't wait for permission. This chapter closes the gap between who you were and who you're becoming, because now it's no longer about the promise of potential. It's about proof. You've got the blueprint. You've got the mindset. You've got the tools. Now you become the evidence. Begin.